And of course, as soon as I start recording, that's when I think about cleaning off the lenses. Yep. Well, I guess I got what I asked for. The weather's colder, but of course now that it's cooled down a bunch, it kind of keeps blowing in showers every now and again. And since that makes that a little tricky to work outside, I decided to work on a little project that meant I could at least stay mostly dry in the cab here, and that's remounting this rear view mirror. It had completely fallen off. The silly adhesive that to stick it to the window stopped working, and I tried one of those new kits to reapply adhesive, and it stuck, and it kind of worked for a bit, and then it fell right off again. So I decided to go ahead and just get something a little bit more positively engaged. You can see right here I've got this steel bar. Just got that running down kind of through this underneath the bracket for the sun visor clips, and yeah, just rolls back there, and I carefully just drilled a couple holes, and there we go. Yeah, just a couple fasteners, and it's good and sturdy. The only thing I did notice about it, having it on the end of a long stick like this, is does tend to vibrate a little bit, and so yeah, it'll probably wiggle around a bit when we're actually on the road, but it doesn't really make any noise, so I don't think it'll drive Elliot nuts. So I think we'll just call it good and deal with it. Well, I was working by myself again today, so I didn't really bother stopping to try and get any footage of me working, because it would have been me holding the welder in one hand and the camera in the other, and you wouldn't have really seen anything anyways. So anywho, I've got the front frame section on, got that all tacked up, good and ready to go. Went ahead and painted everything, hopefully keep it from looking quite as nasty and being quite as rusty as before. And we've got ourselves a bumper. It's not the straightest bumper in the world, and near as I can tell, I think it's just the old irrigation water pipes we picked up were kind of bent and crooked to begin with, so not a whole lot I can do about it. I got these are welded onto the brackets, and the brackets bolt on, so if for whatever reason I need to remove the rear bumper, I can do that without any real hassle, which is nice. I was a little worried about strength and stability of this rear bumper, especially if we're going to be trying to use this as a step up onto the bed. What I ended up doing is these bracket mounts used to have bolts going in through there, and so I just kind of partly threaded in a bolt right there. That's not going anywhere, and it provides a nice little bit of kind of a brace for downward force, as well as you know, just an extra spot for making sure everything's welded to the bracket. Since I happen to have my paints out, I also figured wouldn't hurt, since I had some yellow just to kind of mark out the ends of the bumper. I also went and marked this little protective bar that it was on the frame when we put it on, and we decided to keep it because we're probably going to have the gas cap mounted here in more or less the same way it was originally. And so yeah, that's mostly just, I don't know, vague protection to, if we happen to be trying to drive something up on here, to not hit that. But I don't know. Yeah, get the license plate holder back on and add some brake lights. This thing's almost ready for the road. That's a scary thought. Well, $200 worth of brand new parts later, we've got new rear shock absorbers for the, well, the rear end. Next up on the list, we're almost starting to run out of things to do. Or at least that's what I keep telling myself until I start thinking of more things to do. It would be really nice to replace this muffler, but it's going to have to wait until my wallet recharges a little bit. At some point before we start really hauling stuff around, I want to figure out some way to jack it up and pop some of these wheels off and start staring at the brakes, and would like to look at the wheel, take a good long look at some of these wheel bearings and maybe re-grease them, just, you know, make sure that I'm not about to have a wheel bearing fall off, because that would be pretty awful at this point. Ta-da! The dryer lint has received an upgrade. I went and got some fabric material. It's really thin, but it's this nice heavy-duty kind of plasticized stuff that they use in outdoor backpacks and that sort of stuff. And tried it out. It's really nicely water resistant, not fully water repellent, but does a really good job of that. So I like this stuff. We'll see how well it holds up. I've also got these super duper cheap rubber mats off of eBay. I think for these 3 it was like $10-15 for the whole set. Since they were so cheap, I didn't have any qualms about making them fit, especially on this passenger side here, because you can see this footwell is meant for a singular foot. The other side wasn't so bad. I was able to kind of keep more of the contours and just trim off the edges that they intend for you to trim off. But yeah, that'll kind of help keep the full wear and tear of our big stompy boots from wearing the carpet down too much, and top layer will help keep the dryer lint from wearing out too much. So yeah, so long as you ignore my hasty and honestly god-awful stitching job around the edges, it's not too bad. And as you can see, since we discovered that the hydro system actually works quite excellently, I went ahead and threw the plate and the brackets, the controls back where they were originally. I still don't really care much for the murder hole that they made to fit it in there, but it works, and we don't really have enough play in the cables to remount that anywhere else. At least nowhere else that's convenient, so it'll live there for now. And if sometime down the line I decide I want to redo all the hydraulic lines, I might remount that someplace, somewhere else. But for now, that'll work just fine, and still have to work out the proper wiring to have that hooked up. We'll get that sorted out, and yeah, I'm hoping, now that we've got all this nice carpeted sound deadener in here, hopefully it should be pretty nice in here. I will say it was already not that bad sound level wise. It wasn't terribly loud when you were driving it, but this will help, should definitely help insulate the cab as well. So yeah, it's the thing. Well, yeah, I decided to go ahead and start her up and see if there was any difference in the noise levels, and it can definitely say, I think the sound deadener is helping out with that. And I think also once I put the rubber seal around the outside of the doghouse, so it's actually properly sealed around the engine compartment, I think that'll also help. But yeah, you know, if I'm not careful, this thing will actually be nice to drive. Well, after several trips to the auto store, I've got some new hoses. I've reattached this brackety thing for the gas cap and fuel filler to all sit together prettily, and it's good and sturdy. Got it bolted in. It's on there nice and solid, so I'm pretty happy with that. And yeah, new hoses there, so they're not gonna degrade any further. Well, they're gonna degrade, but you know. And yeah, the other thing is I went, since I was at the storage unit getting this little number back, I also went and brought back the wheel arches and kind of staring at them and working those out. So how these were before is the flat pieces right here used to be sitting right on top of the frame rails, and if I had kept it that way, that would have meant that I'd have had these great big 4-inch tall humps right where we're trying to, you know, set vehicles on it, and I'm not sure. It's all sheet aluminum, and I'm not sure I would trust aluminum even when it's that nice and thick with the weight of an entire car on top of it. So my plot is to mount it inside, sort of like that, leaving about 2 inches on the top there for the 2x4s or 2x6s or 2x8s or whatever I get the you know, the wood to actually deck the deck with. And so with that, everything all told should everything on the deck should be of even height. That will still mean I won't want to park anything on top of these, but since the whole deck area will be flush, I can just throw like a sheet of plywood or something on top of it, on top of these to, you know, just something so it doesn't cave in the aluminum. And I also got the license plate holder kind of screwed back on and not coming off again. At least not until I back it into something. Yeah, I have to say, with the new carpet, and now that I've got the rubber seal around the doghouse and actually strapped it in properly, it's really nice. Could maybe do with a little bit of sound deadening in the doors and maybe something for the roof. Maybe something along the sideboards here, but honestly there's not a whole lot there, and I mean, I don't know, wouldn't hurt, but also don't want to be completely deaf in this thing either. So honestly, it's pretty nice as it is right now. I think if we do something with the roof, it'll be just fine. And I think the main thing I would want to do with the roof is just get some kind of board with fabric coating, just so it doesn't not quite so echoey in here when you're talking. Yeah, I mean, given everything, it's actually pretty nice in here. Famous last words. One thing I have noticed that I probably should address at some point is the throttle pedal here is a little bit sticky. Not terribly sticky, but it does kind of keep it from coming all the way back. Hopefully I can just grease it up a little bit here and there, and we'll find out. I'll do something with that. All right. Well, you can tell it's getting to be later on in the year when 6 o'clock and it's dark outside. But I decided to work on mocking up this center console here because, you know, I didn't have enough things to work on already. I'm totally not procrastinating on other things. No, absolutely not. So yeah, I came up with this, and I kind of like this design as it is. There's a couple of issues and hurdles that I'm kind of trying to look ahead for and work out. I mean, obviously, first and foremost, it's got to fit, and it's got to make good use of the space. There's a couple problems. I wanted it to be nice and big, the main compartment area, but it couldn't come into contact with the seats, obviously, and wanted to make sure, given how tall I ended up having it, wanted to make sure that the armrests, if we wanted to have the armrests down, we could still have them down, and I'm just barely within tolerance of that. The other part of that is, while it had to be skinny up here to clear the armrests, in the back end, since I want to put in a subwoofer in the back, the hole I have to make to mount it in is a foot in diameter. So it was a problem because at the top here, this is shorter than a full foot. Not by a whole lot, but enough. So it's a little difficult to illustrate on camera the way the cramped quarters are, but I ended up angling the side walls outward as they go down, basically just enlarging the space into kind of a great big, almost kind of triangular sort of arrangement, and that seems to work really well. I should have more than enough room to install the subwoofer facing, well, so that the sound goes into the back ways there. But anyways, as you can see, I've got that so that it opens up on the top, and I'm really happy with, it's a huge amount of space for storage that we have in the main compartment here. I might want to work out some sort of organizational thing, and I am planning on having both ends flatted out. I didn't have enough material to cover that part, but this is basically just going to be wall going straight down right there. So yeah, this is the main. That's the main compartment, and I figured just a regular flip front hood with some kind of latch to keep it from rattling around and flying open. So yeah, I like the main setup, and also the slanted design also helps because I wanted to. I probably won't access it just sitting on the chair like this, but I did want to keep it so that if I needed to reach these levers down here, I still could. If I ever do have to work the hydraulic system, I'm probably just going to kind of sit on the footwell here and operate them so that I can, look out and actually maybe get an inkling, see what the heck they're doing. Anywho, moving on to the front piece here. These cutouts are obviously for going to be for cup holders, and there's plenty of room underneath there, so I could make them pretty deep if I wanted to. And then this little flap, I'm figuring I'm going to need some kind of stereo amplifier setup to go through the subwoofer, and probably I'm going to rig up some sort of custom system with speakers and probably an aux cable and that sort of thing. So figure that stuff can be mounted right here, and I'll have a little flap that we can close up, and I might even go to the trouble of putting some kind of seal around it, given the proximity to the cup holders. So another beauty of this design is I had to take into account that at some point in this vehicle's lifespan, it is going to break down on the road, and we are going to need to get into the doghouse. So I designed this setup to be to come apart in two pieces. And the cup holder piece comes out nice and easy like that. You can see I'm planning on having this bit just overhang and maybe have like some bolts and captive nuts in this set. And then on this end, I'm kind of figuring I'll probably more or less just make some brackets here and drill holes into the pockets and the ashtray, and just have some kind of setup where I can bolt it to the doghouse right there. If I really think it needs it, I might just do like a hanger bracket. But anyways, that piece will come out, and luckily I managed to get the dimensions just about right, so that this entire larger piece, the main compartment, can also come out without having to remove any seats or anything. And there it's a little easier to see the definitely the shape of it as it comes out. And yeah, once you've got all that out of the way, then you've got all the space again. I mean, in practice, it would probably be a right pain in the butt to remove all of this, because, we have a subwoofer installed and wired in, and have all kinds of tools and God knows what in the main compartment. But, But yeah, anywho, I'm really happy with this design and how it's shaping up. All right, well, I haven't really been filming a whole lot of this process because it involves carpentry skills, and my carpentry skills, while serviceable, are ugly. So yeah, this is what I have so far, made up in old scrap plywood. Yeah, it's I'm going more for function over form on this one. I'll probably sand things down, maybe throw some kind of, I don't know, paint or lacquer or something over it just to hide most of the awful egregious connections and everything, but it's not gonna look pretty any way we look at it. But I did want to take the time to mention an important rule of thumb. Whenever you're working to try and fix something, the best tool that you can use is always a hammer, and anything can be used as a hammer. Yeah. And of course, you can always ruin what you're trying to work with a hammer as well, but that's the part we don't talk about. But anywho, I will finish this up and actually demonstrate it once I've got it somewhat, at least fit properly. Looking nice, like I said, is it's not going to get to that point really at all. So yeah, I'll come back to you once this is more presentable than it is now. Right, well, I've got the new center console installed, and the family all out here admiring it, and we've decided this will be the ultimate tailgate party machine, because, you know, you've got your music to blast out the back, you got the tailgate for everybody to, you know, play ping pong, have a dance floor, what have you, and then you've got the muffler and exhaust right here that you can extend the grill from, so you do your grilling right here while all the music is blasting, and yeah. Got it set up, and Zeb, if you would be so kind as to demonstrate the latch. Latch is all the way open, and comes with plenty of room inside, as you can tell by the, as you can see by the fact that I've already filled it up with junk, and yeah, got a bit of a separator from the subwoofer, so we don't have things sticking to the giant magnet. And yeah, got that set up. I did end up modifying the design a little bit, because this length of board I didn't actually cut long enough to rest on the doghouse, so I just screwed it into the main base. A couple screws on the inside as well, but yeah, it's good and sturdy, and the whole thing is heavy enough. I don't think it's gonna be prone to trying to escape at all. At least hopefully not. And yeah, got the setup for amplifiers and stuff, and eventually I'll cut out the thing for the cup holders. And I do like, we came up with the idea of if I attach, if I have like a shore cable to run everything off of house power, thinking of putting outlets on either one of these sideboards, so that we can just, you know, plug in, maybe have a laptop sitting there, and can watch movies on this thing. Or I did like Zeb's suggestion of just having a projector mounted to the roof and a screen over the windshield, so we can just project movies right onto the windshield.
The resolution might be a bit weird with Elijah Wood's stretched out face.
You know, we just got to pick, you know, widescreen movies.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, quite happy with that. All right, Zeb, what do you have to say about this whole project?